2013, 100,000 Syrians have been affected by the Syrian conflict. This is a very serious issue in today's world, and America is thinking about getting involved. As Americans, it's important for us to know what's happening in Syria. Luke and I have researched this topic thoroughly, and we want to tell you about it. First, we're going to tell you about how the Syrian conflict started. Then we're going to talk about how the United States is thinking about getting involved, and then we're going to tell you about how the Syrian people are affected by the conflict.
The conflict began as a resistance to dictatorship. Bashar al-Assad became president after his father died, and then there were protests that broke out against his rule as a dictator, and this really turned into a full-scale rebellion once shots were fired by the Syrian army into a crowd of protesters.
Once the United States government heard about what was happening in Syria, they sent $250 million in support to the rebels, the ones who were shot at by the Syrian government. The United States also said that if the Syrian government starts using chemical weapons on their people, then the Americans will send arms to the rebels.
The war in Syria has obviously affected the Syrian people. 2 million Syrians have been forced outside their country to find refuge in neighboring countries. More than double that are facing increased hardships inside Syria, like lack of food. Actually, their economy has shrunk by over half, and more than half of their hospitals are closed. So this war is not just affecting the rebels and those just directly shooting, but also civilian population.
As we said, the Syrian conflict started as a rise against the dictatorship, and many Syrians were really hurt by this conflict. Many of them had to leave the country or suffer the consequences of staying at home. When the United States heard about it, they got involved by sending non-lethal support to the rebels, and may possibly send lethal support if this gets out of hand. This is very important for us to know as Americans because we need to know what our government is doing.